Well, thanks for stopping by. It was a fun time to hang out with everybody. We got potentially a whole week's worth of these kinds of streams coming up, so gonna be a wacky and wild ride. And of course, everyone stay tuned to videogamesgood.com for coverage on all of the news and updates as it comes.
It was good to share the day one excitement with you.
Yeah. So what you know, looking back, now we have almost as much content in that end footage and stuff as we did in the Game Fest itself. So
yeah,
if you can think back to the Game Fest, I have my notes here. Like, what was something that stood out to you that you'd want to highlight? First, let's go Game Fest, because obviously a lot of Day of the Devs spoke to you.
So before I list games that stood out, I would say, like, just what stood out from the vibes, sort of like how much some of the just like conversations with people were like the best part. Like, games that I really don't have any idea about, or like maybe wouldn't even necessarily play, were like so intriguing because of just bringing in people who are excited about them to talk about them, like the
Deviation
person stream.
Oh,
what was that one?
Dungeons and Dragons Shadow Alliance?
Some random game. Like, I'm never gonna play that, but it was like so charming. Like, the moments that brought me the most joy, were just like, it made me smile to like see those people playing it.
It was Jeff Keighley, Hannibal Buress, and Ember Moon from the WWE, and a developer.
Yeah. Like, they were just having so much fun with it, and like, laughing about it. It just brought a smile to my face. There was that one, and the Giancarlo interview was really good. So stuff like that really like stood out like as just the most charming part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think when Jeff talks about these events, he's always talking about, like he said in there, bringing together the industry, bringing these people together, And, you really see that come through. And I think also towards the end, like, when he was truly, like, you could hear in his voice, he was so excited to bring something that people have been waiting for desperately for so long. The meme was that he was put in gamer jail for not bringing it any, sooner. And he played into that too. Like, it's just... It's this event with having a figurehead like Keighley as well that feels so personal. It feels like E3 has this just like, we are E3. We are the keepers of games. Like, that doesn't speak to me as much as when I know Keighley is behind an event which has thousands of people probably working behind the scenes to make it come together. Probably not thousands, hundreds maybe. Hundreds of people coming together to make these things happen, and like it just comes through. And like it's even just like you said, some of those like the Deviations guys I thought were really sweet and humble and like excited.
Yeah.
I think Keighley, again, like, you see him get excited about being able to present indie games in the bigger showcase, right? Because there is some level of, this is the big showcase, and then, hey, afterwards, there's that little indie show, Day of the Devs, which is still present. And, like, when he does bring some of those into the main show, you see he gets stoked. Like, it was that Planet Lana, I think, where after he was like, oh man, like, so happy you guys got to check that one out. Like, he understands, like, you got to make those deals with you got to shake the hands with Call of Duty and all that stuff to especially pay for events like this.
Yeah.
But he's always so happy to bring forward, smaller games too, which is really cool. When it comes to starting your list, I'm sure Planet of Lana's pretty high up there.
Number 1. Oh my god, that looks so good.
That was a very hand-drawn art. Gouache. Gouache. She said gouache.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
I've only read that word. Don't come for us.
Yeah, and I always think of gauche, which is like
Yeah.
the word where it's like, that's so gauche.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
But yeah, beautiful, like hand-painted looking style, sort of.
You're working with this little blob cat,
Yeah, it's like a
black blob cat.
kid and their sort of spirit companion type of thing. Like,
And then there's
something's
like some like spaceship crashing on this planet. And then it's like you and the cat trying to figure out what's going on / surviving, because it seems like there are hostile forces
Yeah.
in the ship and stuff. Yeah, that was high up on my list. I'm excited to finally play Sky Children of Light. They revealed some of the new season to that game. That's the other thing that's weird about it. It's a season. It's like a living game, like a Fortnite or whatever, where they have seasons to their thing. But it's this beautiful like cooperative jump around and fly around in this beautiful landscape type of game. But it's got seasons, and so the new season is The Little Prince, like based on the famous book. And yeah, it looks really beautiful, and like just happy to be able to finally play it, because it was, like I said to you while it was being revealed, that was an iPhone exclusive game for a while, Apple Arcade.
I would say that skated onto my list, probably like toward the end, but yeah, it's in there just because I love The Little Prince. I'll go for it. I'll bite.
The Anacrusis was interesting. That was the Left 4 Dead, like, killing aliens on a space station, but it had like this 60s, 70s retro vibe, and the characters were kind of goofy as well.
Yeah, I liked the humor in that and the style.
2 Point Campus was finally revealed. That looks, that's
a
day one for sure, to just hop in and build a little college campus. Again, just a different setting for a game like that, like they don't really do that. Again, I'll say it again. I've said it like 10 different times. Metal Slug is still like probably towards the top of my list.
I can tell.
It's just, it was so unexpected, and I appreciate that stuff, Sable with the Japanese breakfast performance, like that combination was beautiful. And I mean, that song is apparently going to be in the game. But Sable looking great and being showcased really well in the show. I was kind of both excited and disappointed at the same time that the Jurassic Park like tease that had come out before turned out to just be a sequel to the little park builder game that had come out. It's a cool game, and I'm excited to see where they go with it. They teased like some more underwater stuff, and that was something that was newer to the franchise with Jurassic World, with the little swimmy monster dinosaur.
Yeah, it'd be something I'll check out.
Just a little disappointing, because I was hoping for something different. It's such a rich... I mean, I guess the only other thing... I guess it's just hard to probably consider what the game would be, because the only other thing would be, we kill dinosaurs, or something. Like you have guns and you're trying to survive in the park while the dinosaurs are loose or something, and they probably don't want to go that direction. Mm-hmm. So instead it's... No, you're raising them and taking care of them.
Yeah. It was a humble tease for, such a giant, important franchise.
I'll say one of the low points, which is a bummer, was the Dark Pictures Anthology next title reveal, House of Ashes or something, where it had soldiers in Iraq ending up in a temple. It's just not the vibes.
No.
Not the vibes at all. Just at a real low point. Tales of Arise. I didn't even realize it was Tales of Arise while it was being revealed. The Tales franchise has got a long history, and it looked beautiful. Beautiful. It was, again, like as it was playing, it was I said it's one of those anime games. It's not an anime game even. It's got an anime aesthetic that like captures the vibe of anime perfectly, you know. Like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot from the last year, a lot of Dragon Ball Z Fighters, you know, really embracing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the Weezer performance.
I was gonna say, probably second on my list would be Wavebreak. I hadn't heard about that before. I love Weezer. I loved the performance.
It was a goofy song, like they
skateboarding games.
They were like
an interesting
take on it.
Weird take on
the song was just super fun. Where they're like, we're not gonna call out names about people who've criticized us in the past. Pitchfork, like it was just like super fun and goofy and on the nose and on top of that, it was super cool because they were. I don't know if they're just publishing that themselves or what, but that is completely DMCA safe. It was not, you know, you could stream that performance with no worries, you know. Japanese Breakfast, they didn't say that, so who knows? I might have a takedown request on my channel now, but...
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the biggest things, and of course, at the very end, Elden Ring finally reveals itself, and it's barely over a half a year away. People were wondering where that thing was, and then now it's coming out, you know, and it looked interesting. I'm still trying to like embrace the Souls-like. I really want to hop into Bloodborne, but I've been waiting to see if they'll patch it for PS5 because it's kind of shaky. But yeah, Elden Ring looked great, and I'm stoked that probably the internet is on fire right now. We were streaming this whole time, so I haven't really like checked in on like how everyone's freaking out over that. But yeah, it's a good time. And then this Day of the Devs thing was like
amazing.
I don't think
life-changing.
Truly like every game.
Yeah.
I can't think of one game that I was kind of checked out on. So they had Axiom Verge 2, great follow-up to a great game, really great pixel art style. Toem, the photography game with the monochrome color palette, and it's this like angled top-down camera, but then you pull out your camera as a character and take photos in the world in first person, and so like that's like a fun switch of perspective there, and just really good vibes. Good vibes.
I'll say that my biggest surprise, probably from the whole day, but especially from Day of the Devs, was Phantom Abyss. Because obviously, you know, I'm gonna go for all of these, like, nature farming sims.
Right, yeah.
And
that is
indies, but, like, that one...
Fern's shit right there.
Yeah, but Phantom Abyss is not what I would usually go for, and I'm really intrigued by it.
We should play together.
Yeah.
Whoa,
I'm sure we will.
Chat. No, Phantom Abyss, yeah. So that had been revealed at a Twitch gaming event. And so they had partnered with a bunch of streamers. And I had seen Northern Lion, the Egg Daddy himself, play some of that game.
You need to be stopped.
Yeah, that was the even then I didn't really fully grasp the game, and it's not out, so like what he's playing, he's like mostly playing alone, doing some of these temples and stuff. So like knowing and seeing like 10 different people playing all at the same time, you know, trying to get through this temple, and only one person can get it. So I don't know if they're randomly generated or how that all works, because like if there's specific temples that they have to build, like as a developer, like what happens when the one person gets the treasure, like...
Yeah, and they said like it closes forever.
Yeah, so yeah, one person gets the treasure and that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious.
It's really interesting. I can't really fully wrap my head around it either, but it's just so unique.
Yeah, no, for sure. Garn Story coming out very soon. I've been waiting for that game for a long time. It's like a Zelda-like with adventure game with like some of those elements of farming sims that you love, of actual farming, fishing, interacting with the folks in the town and completing requests for them and stuff like that. Just really charming.
I wish there had been a specific release date for it.
Again,
good to know that it comes out in summer. It's coming out soon, but like, I don't know. It's like, if it's coming out so soon, why don't you know yet? I
think
I want to know.
You have to think that, like I said when it was being shown, if we're right on the precipice of summer, and they're saying summer 2021, it's gonna be the end of summer. Like they're doing.
If you're going by the calendar year, could be like September, early September.
I mean, there's also just a chance they're just not ready to commit to a singular date because they're just working out the final kinks and, things happen.
Yeah.
But
that stresses me out for them, though.
Well, especially in the indie space, you know what I mean? Like, you just never know what's going to happen. It's a lot easier for a big publisher to say, this is the day, and we're going to hit this day no matter what, Yeah. I mean, it's made by like one person, right? Yeah, it's a small team. One person probably, and then like, help from outside sources as well. By the way, shout out to OFK right now. This is a
good jam.
Yeah, good jam, and then I just love OFK on the whole, like this fictional band that they stream. They're basically VTubers.
Yeah.
But yeah, this I think this is the rig they use, to mocap when they stream. They'll just stream other games as the characters in the band. They have Twitter accounts you can follow, and that game is coming out soon as well. It's this, album/game experience where you're playing as the band. Oh, so this is all the stuff they had released before the show as videos, but now they're playing them as part of the stream.
We needed to watch these anyway.
I had watched this one before the stream, and it was really good. And then, we had a lot to talk about, but the most important reveal of the day of the devs, and even this is probably my number one of everything, including Summer Game Fest. Soup Pot.
Yeah, I love Soup Pot.
Soup Pot is amazing. It's a cooking sim that, even before I get into the parts that matter the most to me, it's a cooking sim that's like, no, mess up. Like, it's a cooking sim that encourages you to be creative and try things that, I think is a lot scarier to do in real life when you're cooking, But in a game, I'm going to try to figure out this recipe. I'm sure, like, it's very vague when it's trying to explain how to cook these things, so it is up to you to experiment, and, like, I think that's really cool. But the part that really spoke to me, obviously, is it's all Southeast Asian recipes. It seems to be that there's a particular focus on Filipino food and culture, which was really, really cool to just see on display. And it was an interesting art style too. At times it felt like hand-drawn, like sketchy art on the assets, but then it was obviously 3D, but like there was just some moments where it looked like drawings almost, so I liked that. There's like a whole social media aspect to it as well, where you're like sharing photos of your food, and but yeah, it was just wild to, see foods that I grew up eating, that my family still eats, and see that on display in a good old fancy video game. With the whole trailer had a Filipino rap track playing in the background the whole time. Like, it was just like
Tagalog on the social media posts.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely a focus in one way, which I'll take.
Maybe I think maybe like some of the developers.
Yeah, it must be
incorporated. More Southeast Asian.
Yeah, they mentioned Korean food as well, and a few others. I just heard Filipino and went into a zone.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, again, like I think beyond that, like the decisions for it to be this like experimental, try things out cooking sim is super interesting and different. Vaguely reminded me of Cooking Mama, because like there's some Cooking Mama has moments where you're like, you know, there's a bowl in the middle and all the ingredients are on the sides and you like toss them in a certain order and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, just a really sick game. Love it. I was getting emotional watching that. Like you just, and it reminds me of when Steven Universe was like, hey, this character you've seen all along, he's Filipino, you know, and like he likes ube, and it was just like, what? Like it was just seeing a fairly underrepresented culture just pop up, you know, like that's why it was like, oh, Supa, this is kind of why. Yeah, it's really good. Then there was a musical story. There was two rhythm games that were in here that were really cool. Musical story, which is a lot more trippy and slower paced and methodical. Where you're a band on the road, just getting through life. Like, that seemed really fun and
you're
pretty.
like exploring memories.
Yeah, that's right. You're like in a hospital bed or something, right? And you're like trying to remember.
So you're using the music that you're making to, you know, recall those memories.
Yeah, that's right.
Feature.
Yeah. And then the other one, which was, let me find the name here. Unbeatable.
Yeah.
Again,
awesome.
They had a one-line description that just killed me, which was anime-inspired rhythm adventure game where music is illegal and you do crimes.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a great vibe. Very much reminded me of the anime FLCL, which had music stuff in it as well. And yeah, it looks a little more hardcore of a rhythm game, but simple, 2 buttons, you know, and so it's really cool. And then yeah, you're like performing underground concerts. You decide the set list, and the set list is made up of songs that your characters are writing based on things that you put them into, the situations you put them into, I'm imagining, and the characters they meet and stuff like that. So that's really neat too.
Yeah,
like
you only learn certain songs through
what you do and
the experiences you have in the game.
Yeah, that was really cool. Vocabulance was really cool. That was a stop motion game, platformer. Again, just the Day of the Devs was just nonstop hits, pretty much. That was a really big look at it. As it was just showing, like, he showed some behind the scenes stuff as well, which is just always so fun with that style. Road 96 showed itself again.
I liked this.
Road 96, I think, jumped up. Yeah, I think Road 96. This is the biggest like second viewing that jumped up way more, you know, than like some of these. You're like, oh yeah, seeing that again. That's a cool game. I'm still interested. But this one was like, I remember vaguely interested the first time, and then this time was like, whoa, I want to play that right away. And it's 90% because of this interesting interaction you have with this guy in a cab where you're looking at his magazines. They're all like dinosaur based. And he goes, do you like dinosaurs? I won't get mad. And you say no. And he goes, oh. And then it cuts to way later. And he's got a gun pointed at you. Like, clearly this game goes places. And the other thing they keep pushing is that, like, your path is, like, gonna be different than anyone else. It's like you're gonna go places and meet people that you wouldn't not everyone's gonna meet the same people, go the same places in their playthroughs. So
that's what I was gonna say. Like the first showcase we saw of that game, it really pushed that, you know, there are thousands of ways for you to experience this game, and then this seeing
focusing on one
character, and like it really showed you like how absolutely absurd the places it can go can be. So
and sometimes you worry. Sometimes I worry when they say like it's going to be procedurally generated. There's all these different things places you can go with it, and this is a great song, by the way. You can feel like, oh, is it going to be is there going to be depth to those experiences? Sure, I can do like thousands of different things, but is there any depth there? And this kind of showed me that there's probably some very like key things that, you know, they toss in there to have some interesting interactions. So
yeah, I think there will be, you know, outcomes where it's probably pretty deep and emotional, and there's going to be outcomes where it's just absolutely ridiculous, like kind of like what we saw. You know?
Yeah, got like 4 more. We're almost through. There's the Wandering Village.
Oh, I like that a lot. I don't normally play those colony sim type of things, but it's a really fascinating way to do it.
Yeah, you have this symbiotic relationship with this giant beast that you and your kin all live on the back of in this village, and like they showed like some design documents basically. Yeah, see, it's a great song, isn't it? And it's not even, it hasn't even kicked in yet. This is just like the beginning.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, here it is. This is where it picks up. It's in the blood.
Wow.
Thank you.
Snaps.
What was I saying?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, the symbiotic relationship with this beast. They were showing design docs where like certain plants it wants to keep on its back, and if you pick those, like it'll get angry and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really cool take on that, because normally in those games, you just like get as much food as you can, and you know, store it here and do this, and it looked a little simpler. Some of the ones I've played, like there's this new one going medieval, which just is big learning curves. A really famous one is called RimWorld. Big learning curves. You're likely to die the first time you play because it's just too hard to parse all the information all at once. This like felt a little more simple, like to understand. Death's Door was really cool. Not too much to say there. It's a kind of hardcore Zelda adventure game. They mentioned Zelda as a major inspiration for them. Titan Souls was their last game, which was basically a boss rush game. Just fought a bunch of big monsters. And this feels very much in the same art style or gameplay style, but you know, a little more broadened in its focus. You know, you have little monsters you're fighting too, and you're just adventuring, unlocking stuff. Looks pretty good. Then there was Behind the Frame, which was really just beautiful. I don't even know how to describe it really, because you're just kind of going through your life, your day to day. It's just a narrative experience, I guess. You're doodling, and they make it really interactive to where you don't have to actually draw. You know, you're just sketching, and it draws it in for you. You're making coffee and stuff, like it's just, and it had this beautiful, like, if there's anything, you know, there's a lot of games that said they were Ghibli inspired, like that one is.
Yeah, that's
Ghibli
like the
inspired.
first one I've seen that actually has genuinely achieved it.
Yeah.
I would say that with all said and done, that probably jumped up to my number one of the whole everything we saw today.
Yeah, that was pretty high up on my list as well. Another one coming up later is probably higher for me, just because I can't wait to just experience it. But Moonglow Bay was the fishing life sim. Again, another great one line. Fishing sim where you live in a town where people are afraid of fishing. So like that's such a fun, like, okay, I want to see what that world is, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, it has that chunky voxel art style. That can be a little off-putting sometimes, but it works here. And there's just like a lot of mini systems. It seems like, you know, you're cooking and you have to keep a meter in the right spot. You know, the fishing obviously is its own mini game. Like a lot of interesting mechanics and systems all working together there, and feels like a lot of little ways to keep engaged with each part of the process. You know?
Yeah, I like what I saw today. And, like, it kind of has a lot of Animal Crossing aspects. And you know that I'm, like, a little burnt out on Animal Crossing. But, like, that sort of looks like, you know, a new way to engage in that same sort of calming, you know, style.
Yeah.
Rebuilding a town
Yeah, that's right. Because it's all like it's a bankrupt town or something, right?
Yeah.
And you're like trying to restore the economy with your fishing. Like, it's kind of a fun concept and idea.
I like the terrible, awful idea of a seafood vending machine.
Yeah, yeah,
Where you're
yeah.
preparing like
Putting fish in there.
fish and chips and meals like that,
Yeah.
putting full meals into this vending machine. I love it.
Then there was
Ridiculous.
Loot River, which was a Diablo-esque dungeon. They say it was Diablo meets Tetris, a Diablo-esque dungeon crawling experience. Here, we'll go back to our... Oh, there's Jeff. There's our king.
He's free.
He's free from gamer jail. He's done it. Diablo meets Tetris, and so it's dungeon crawling, but then you're shifting the environment, which is all like in blocky chunks, like little Tetris blocks, and you're shifting those blocks around to avoid enemies and pick them off. It was really interesting because they it's a lot of enemies, hordes of enemies, and you're not like the most agile warrior, you know? And so like the idea of like boop, you know, moving a block over here to separate out like a chunk of that horde over here, and then you fight them, and then you go back and do it again, you know, like it very much promoting cheesing the system and like, you know.
I like it. It adds like a cool layer of like, you know, using your wits and being creative. Yeah. Experimenting with how you're gonna defeat hordes of enemies. Yeah,
it's a different take. It reminds me of, there was another game that was a Diablo-esque, dungeon crawly-esque experience that was a pinball game. You would come into each room, and then you were like the pinball flipper, and then there were just balls bouncing around and stuff. And so like that's a fun, you know, different take. And so it's like a similar thing in that way. And then this is the game that jumped pretty high up on my list, was Despelote, which is this game where you're playing as a kid in Ecuador. The Ecuadorian national team is about to qualify for the World Cup for the first time ever in their history, and all you can think about is playing soccer. You're like going to class, and that's all you can think about. And it just had this total, you said it best, it's just this total slice of life vibe where you're just hanging out in this town square, playing soccer with your friends. You're kicking the ball around, and then like annoying people that are out on the park. You're kicking the ball to the grandpas that are, you know, smoking and listening to the radio. There's like a button just for you to say hi. And so there's this great scene where there's this like couple that's just, you know, on a date in the park, and you say hi, you know, you're like a little kid, and hi. And then they just get pissed off at you, like, leave us alone, you know? And you're like, it just, there was this overlapping of conversation that was happening as well throughout the demo. At one point, the ball like got popped, and you could still kick it around, but it was clearly like, it was just, you know, like a deflated ball would. Just like, and on top of all that, it had this really great art style. It was, like this bit, I don't know how to like describe it. It was like this just like very bitty art style. And all the characters are like 2D simple drawings. And it's all in first person. Yeah.
Yeah, the way they sort of like layered the conversations and everything, like you were saying, especially in that park scene, like it literally sounded like, you know, obviously it sounded like they did script it when they were talking about it, but the way that it sounded
just came out so naturally.
Yeah, it's like if you sat in the middle of a park with a microphone.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of kids playing soccer.
Hey, kids, stop that. You know, like, no one's listening. Like no one's really listening to each other, you know, in that way that's familiar, you know, when you go to a park and yeah, it was just a very unique. It felt like a game that you're gonna experience when you play. You know, like it's not gonna be something like you get. Oh, that one sequence was so killer. You know, like even it doesn't feel like there's many scripted sequences. You're just kind of exploring, and you're gonna stumble onto scenes and stuff. Like there was one part where the kid was like in a store, and he like witnessed someone like shoplifting or something, you know, like it just feels like you're gonna stumble onto things as you unravel this little town. And yeah, that was such a I'd never seen that. That was the other thing about all of the game, pretty much all of the games in here. I don't think this was their world premiere. These are games that have been talked about and are out there, and there are people that are probably the biggest fans of each one of these little games, and like for a lot of people, including myself, someone who I consider myself someone tapped in, and I did know some of them, but like there's a ton of games in there where I was like, where'd you come from? Like, whoa.
Just never got the stage.
Yeah, and it feels like those games are, a lot of those too are like, oh, and it's coming out in 3 months, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
like
soon.
Which is the way to do it though too. But yeah, I think that was a great day one. I can already feel that some people were probably disappointed in at least the Summer Game Fest section. I liked it. Huh?
I was. I think it just depends on what kind of games you like. If it doesn't strike enough of a balance between those sort of like more inviting indie games that are really approachable for people who, can't really do all of the
Twitch skill based.
Yeah, like the big stuff.
Like shooters and
shooters and like the sort of fantasy, like the Elder Ring thing. If it doesn't strike enough of a balance, it tends to leave me a little disappointed.
Well, yeah, there just tends to be, and I think that happens with any of these events because there's so many. They're trying to find a way to get to everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is with this particular event, there was lots of niche moments where it's like, hey, this crowd over here is gonna freak out right now.
I was going to say that too. Like you said, a lot of it, even for people who do play those more major games, like a lot of what was shown was so niche and not super consequential news and updates to games, things like that.
Yeah, it's I still found a lot to love in there. And like you said, there was some surprising, like, just conversations that were kind of uplifting in some ways. But I can already tell, people were already having way too much expectations, as to what could be revealed there. Some people thought Switch Pro was going to be there. Some people thought Smash Bros was going to be there. Some people thought, and, I think the other thing to keep in mind, we have a whole week still. Of content coming through, so who knows what's waiting for us, but I liked it on the whole. And like, just like as I keep bringing up Metal Slug, right, like I'm sure there was a billion people, you somewhat included, you said you were interested in it, but like that went and said, what the fuck, like, okay, you know what I mean? Like when that was showing, like I'm sure there was so many people that were like, God, can we go to the next one? You know what I mean? While I'm sitting here like, whoa, like that is exactly what we're talking about. Where like there was after that, it was kind of like a lull for a while where we were just kind of like, we didn't. You notice we talked about pretty much every single game in the Day of the Devs because every single game was exciting to us.
Yeah.
While we talked about like 3 games from the Game Fest, and that's kind of telling in its own way.
I think there's just so much more to come, like throughout the rest of E3 and all the side events that are non-affiliated, and you can't expect that everything major that people are waiting for is going to be released in the first 2-hour event. First day.
Yeah, for sure.
And some of those expectations that people have, probably aren't going to come at all because people tend to have really high expectations about what they're going to see at stuff like this. But if they do come, I think they're going to wait, keep people watching through the rest of all of these events.
No, yeah, for sure. And like some of the stuff in this event was like, stay tuned for this thing coming in a couple weeks, or a couple days. So, I mean, I had a lot of fun.
After after Day of the Devs, was added into this.
You went. You were probably like at a 5 out of 10, and then Day of the Devs went like, oh.
I'm totally satisfied with what we saw here today.
You were like, after Summer Game Fest, you were like, okay, I'm happy for Jammy, but I don't know if I really needed to be awake for this. And then Day of the Devs hit, and it was like, oh, now I'm happy.
With my very particular and annoying taste in games, sometimes it's just like I'm always being happy for the other gamers. I'm like, man, good for you, getting what you've
good for you, bud. Yeah.
But yeah, after Day of the Devs, I'm like, man, it was for me.
That's
this time.
That's one of like 4 different indie showcases that I think are going to happen this week. So it's exciting. I'm curious to see how much we hit. One of the bad things that came of last year's attempt at recapturing E3, which was you ended up seeing like the same indie game at like 5 different events. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that'll happen a little bit. But also, like, I'm really excited about some of these, and I'm not really gonna mind
seeing it again and maybe seeing something different.
Yeah, and like you were saying, some of these have been out there in the ether and not, reached us somehow.
Yeah.
So the more
opportunity.
Yeah, the more like involvement they have throughout the rest of these showcases, that's great for them. And I'm happy for, games that are super exciting to me to reach more people, even if it means I have to see them again a couple more times.
For sure. Woo!
Woo.
We went live basically as the event started.
Yeah. Like minutes, seconds.
And now here we are at 2:45. Finally wrapping up here.
Yeah, we need to wrap it up. We're gonna go eat.
Yeah.
It's been a good morning.
Yeah, tomorrow there's some events, but they're not like specifically, gonna be hit after hit after hit.
Yeah. Did Keely say he's gonna be on Netflix Geek Week tomorrow?
Yeah, he will be co-hosting. That's the big day, I think. This week has been kind of like, oh yeah, some fun things again. It's just like Game Fest, where these niche audiences are probably freaking out about some announcements. But tomorrow, I think it's going to be like Witcher, Stranger Things, like that's going to be the big one. And so Keely showing up for that Cuphead show. They're making Cuphead. They're making a Cuphead cartoon. It only makes sense, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So that will be there as well. The first view of that. So I don't think we're gonna stream tomorrow, but we'll be watching everything and getting some stuff up on the website about some of the big reveals. Yeah.
We hope you're watching along.
Yeah. I imagine we'll probably come back. I don't know about the Gorilla Collective. That starts at 8 a.m. on Saturday. Here, actually, I can bring this up.
It's not our ideal time frame, but we've been known to do it sometimes.
Here's the calendar. We're looking at this right here. Yeah, I mean, I really do love. Again, that's another indie showcase, so I love to see some of that, and we'll watch it for sure. I just don't know if we'll be able to. Like it that feels like a day we'll roll out of bed and watch it rather than try to get on a stream right away.
Yeah.
But
also Games Direct.
Yeah, I think by 10 a.m. we might be ready to stream.
I'd love to share that with the people.
Because we'll end up maybe doing like from that all the way through, at the very least, the Devolver Showcase, which would be similar to today, about 10 to 2:30, like of events. Because there's a Wholesome Games Direct, and there's a Future of Play Showcase, which is a new thing. They said the showcase itself is inspired by 90s anime and Toonami, and I was like,
that's cool.
Sign me up. And then there's the Ubisoft Forward at 12. Ubisoft always, similar to Nintendo, they understand what it means to be at E3, and they always have like a brand new game that is next gen, like ready to showcase what the consoles are like in the future. And like, so Ubisoft always has some interesting stuff. And then Devolver Digital has created a canon, a universe that is wacky and wild and includes cyborgs and virtual head spaces and all kinds of wacky shit. The funniest thing the Devolver Digital showed, you know what it's actually called? Here I have like the to be decided kind of label here. So there's the Ubisoft Forward, and then after is the Devolver Forwarder.
Got him.
Ubisoft actually was fun and like replied to that and said, and then they showed their like reveal their title like image they have for it, and it said the Ubisoft Forwardist. So I was like, that's cute.
I like it.
Yeah, and then Sunday, 10 to 5 is gonna be. Probably I'll stream most of that. There's some breaks in there, so. But the Xbox Bethesda, that's going to be huge. Square Enix, potential Final Fantasy 16 news in there, and reveals potentially of a Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is pretty hype.
That would be sweet.
Back for Blood at 2 p.m. So at Warner Brother Games, yeah, that's just Back for Blood. Like, you could skip that one. Maybe even maybe I would not stream that. Like maybe I'll take that lunch break, come back for the PC Gaming Show. PC Gaming Show is another great place where they have indie releases in there as well.
For that being good.
And then the Future Games Show, also another indie hub as well. And then Monday's the one where I'm like, I don't know that I'm gonna stream any of this.
Yeah, because nowhere really says like what they are.
Yeah, so Verizon is doing something.
It's a weird mystery.
Intellivision is doing something. Take-Two Interactive is the only one I'm vaguely curious about because Take-Two has a ton of interesting titles. And then, yeah, there's just some weird shit in here. So I think we're gonna just not stream it all that day.
You can like live tweet it.
Yeah, I'll live tweet it.
Like the one that
we'll get some stuff up on the website.
You can live tweet for 45 minutes to Take-Two Interactive.
And then Tuesday's a big day. You got the Nintendo Direct. Nintendo brings the big money every time, baby. So that'll be exciting. And then Bandai Namco. I mean, they just announced Elden Ring, so who knows what could be at this event. There could be some Elden Ring gameplay. Who knows?
Could be.
There's this weird 5-minute event. Eureka Studio in here. And then a GameSpot Play for All. Anytime a website is hosting some kind of event, I always imagine that's going to be an indie showcase as well. So there's another one there. And then an official E3 awards show, which I have no idea what it's going to look like. I think Greg Miller of Kind of Funny is like a host for that. He's been talking about rehearsing with some people, some other gaming personalities. So could be fun. But yeah.
That'll be an interesting one.
Fun week. It's day one. Let's go eat.
Let's do it.
I'll do some writing. We'll get a wrap-up post up on the page today. I don't think I'm going to do the ranking thing I did with the Game Awards, but I will probably have a post that has like all the trailers wrapped up all in one and all that stuff. So
just do a tier list. It's quick and easy to the point.
I'll do a tier list video, like not even an article, but yeah. Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
Good to be here, buddy. Thanks for having me.
We'll break out, I think, at least the impressions portion, this post portion, I think I'll put up on YouTube or something like that. Yeah. It was a fun first day.
Good times. Gonna go fuel up for the rest of the day for getting stuff on the blog.
Woo! I'm dead already. Alrighty.
It'll be fun.
I can officially say that 2 reviews are in the works as well.
Sweet.
The Magnificent Truffle Pigs I've got review code in hand. Can't wait to play that game. Just that name alone. I'm not even going to tell you anything more. The Magnificent Truffle Pigs. Weird.
I'm in.
And I've also got code for Biomutant, which was, it's been out for a little while, but I think there's been some time. There's been some bug fixes. I'm curious to see what that game has waiting for me. So I'm curious to check that one out.
Exciting.
But yeah, alrighty. See you all on Saturday. Get a day off from me.
Excellent.
All right. Bye-bye.
So long.